Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Hello, welcome into the Buffaloes podcast, episode 10 here in season 3. I'm your host, Graham, the G-Show Forsyth. We're brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terrico Elite Prospects, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, as well as Terrico, and of course Movement Fitness and Performance, as well as all of Pilot Mountain's lovely sponsors and partners, and proud to say that G-Show Productions is one of those partners of Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy. But yeah, intro is going to play really soon here. Decided to do kind of like a more so cold open style today, even though we had a commercial run to start things off. But just want to let you know we have a wonderful show in store for you all today. Gordie Tumilson and Dane Halstead are going to be joining the show. Dane is the skill development manager at Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, and Gordie, of course, still working many jobs for Pilot Mountain, even though he's not the main goalie coach anymore. He's their marketing and recruiting director. And yeah, always great to talk to Gordie. We talk about the past weekend and upcoming week of matchups for all teams in the academy. We're also going to take you through a bit of news from around Pilot Mound, let you know how the U18 women's national team ended up doing, not national team, but the team that competed in women's nationals for the program of excellence here in the province of Manitoba. Sadie Swanning competed with the U18s down in Newfoundland and Labrador this past week, which was last week at this point. But yeah, lots of great stuff as always on the Buffaloes podcast. We'll now kick things off before we start off the interviews here, show you those. Starting off with the Gordie Tumilson joining the show first, but yeah, we'll let Tyson Unroe, Juno Award winner, let us send into the first interview with Gordie Tumilson with his March of the Buffaloes intro. Gordie Tumilson joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast to talk about all things Pilot Mound as always. Me and him were also talking about some exciting news before the show that we won't share with you until next week. So that's a little teaser right there to start off. But
Teaser,
Gordie,
teaser. Way to go, Graham.
U15s competed really well against RHA Kelowna. Let's start off with them again, as we have been these past few weeks now.
Yeah, really good game. Goalie was good. The players were good. People were battling it out. Got shot a little bit, but they really worked hard. And that would be a skunk game for them many times in the past against that Kelowna group. almost any RHA group. But I'll tell you what, these kids are coming. We've said that all of our teams are getting better. Well, we can honestly say that about that U15 squad. They are getting closer to upsetting some of the real big names in that U15 program. So good on them to be close. Gives them hope and also allows them to become better players playing against that great competition. So, yep, there you go.
Yeah, of course. Sunday, November 2nd, they were able to come away with a 7-4 win against the Kelowna RHA squad, and then coming close, but just falling short 2-0 against RHA Winnipeg
Yep.
this past Saturday. What does it say about this group, Gordie, to see them, continue to battle, continue to compete with some of the best teams from around the league at this point?
Well, as you go out and look for players and try and find guys, of course, you got to find people who can pay the money. That's always the hard part. And then you're trying to, of course, get players that have got some internal fortitude. They've got some courage. They've got some hockey IQ. They want to do good. They want to get better. They don't want to. They don't like losing. They understand it maybe, but they don't like it. That's always important. And so you're I guess you're selecting character almost more than you are the talent on the ice, or you're forced to because of the dollar situation. That's the sort of deal that most people don't aren't thinking about. Oh, that's a great player. Yeah, but can they afford to play here? Do they want to come here? Can they afford to play here? That's a big deal. So when you grouping those kids together, I mean, I know those coaches. I know Colin and Brad on their scouting and Isaac and Rod on our scouting team. They're just talking to people all the time and trying to whittle it down to good players, solid character guys, kids that want to learn, that won't, be upset by leaving home at 15 years old. It's tough on some kids. My gosh, some of them are 14. They're not even 15 yet. So it's a really good sign that they're battling like crazy, learning how to play better, moving their game up. And of course, the scouts are all watching that and that WHL draft or whatever other kinds of things that incentivize these kids. Well, good on them to show up every game, play hard, and do their best.
Yeah, of course, we've talked about it many times before, but this is the age of WHL eligible players coming up, right? And a group that scouts are looking at very keenly as the few years these players are in this division go by. And as for the U15s, they won't be back in CSSHL action until November 21st at this point, Gordie. They're going to be back in action November 13th coming up against the Martinsville Marauders. They play the Notre Dame Hounds AAA squad as well as Fort Saskatchewan Rangers and the Southeast Tigers. All the games are going to be in Medicine Hat. Take me through the preview, what they should be expecting against what I'm sure are strong teams.
Yeah, I mean the AAA teams, of course, they're unknown to us. After we don't get to play them very often. Typically, we're a little bit better than they are. Not always. And but you got to show up and play because they're better than us if we don't show up and play. You've got to work hard. So that's a neat teaching thing. When you get the kids, if you show up and not play aggressively and you're to the best of your ability or play down to the other guy's level, chances are you could lose. And you don't like losing. And you don't like being shamed by the other team. And especially if they're not as good, in terms of talent and whatnot. So you're hoping you're better when as a team when you play your best and then you go in and play your best. Yeah, you win. Hopefully you win by one or two, you win by a few. You don't have to skunk anybody. That doesn't do anybody any good. Good competitive game. You want to outwork the other team every time out. The scouts are watching you play every game. Team wins or loses, it doesn't matter. Play hard every game. Scouts like that. Coaches like that. Parents like that.
Yep. compete. A big thing that I think, like you just mentioned, and coaches and scouts alike, love players that can do exactly that, which is be involved and be impactful within the game to the best of their abilities. Where can those games be seen, by the way, Gordie?
Most of those games are on Live Barn. There might be the odd game on Flow TV. So if you've got Live Barn, which most people have had or do have, because they're going to watch somebody play somewhere sometime, and almost all of the rinks now in rural everywhere in Canada for sure has got a Live Barn camera at least, and many of them have the Flow TV ones. Flow TV is a little bit bigger production issue deal. Live Barn's literally just the camera and moves up and down, follows the flow of the
Right.
play, et cetera, et cetera. So, but yeah, Live Barn's good. And yeah, you watch them on there. Just click onto our website, and you can, and our social media. Our social media has the list of all the games every week. We put the games up, and we game day and all that good stuff. So you can plan your weekend around the 2 million hockey games that are being played by Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy. There you go.
Yeah, and of course they'll be down coming up this weekend, Gordie, as mentioned in, of course,
All those,
lost it all of a sudden.
all those games in Medicine Hat.
In Medicine Hat. All
Yeah,
those games can be seen in Medicine Hat, Alberta this weekend
yeah.
through Live Barn or, like Gordy said, check out Pilot Mountain's social media. But yeah, taking a trip down to Alberta this upcoming weekend to battle against teams from AAA level, and they'll actually be starting off on Thursday, Gordy. So actually a
Yep.
day after this podcast airs. But as for the U18s, they had a chance to battle with the Prairie Hockey Academy program. A game where Pilot Mountain was able to put up a few goals, but Prairie really pulling away in that third period. Nonetheless, Pilot Mountain staying pretty competitive in this one.
Well, we had two games actually against those guys, and so we won we lost both of them, but very 4-1 and 7-3. So we got some goals, and at the start of the year they beat us by about 6 or 8 goals, and so 4 goals or 3 goal. I guess it's a 4 goal game and a 3 goal game. We're getting closer. And our entire program's working. It's again, we don't always start off with the best players, but boy, the kids are getting better. They're working hard. They're enjoying this. I think this group, in deference to teams prior, all of them are seem to be right in it. They all seem to be right with it. There doesn't seem to be any anchors holding us back. We've got everybody in, and that goes to recruiting and scouting and finding players and getting guys that out. And I know Anthony does this, and Rick McConnell and all the guys do this. They phone their friends that are in hockey that they've known forever. Can you go watch teams and send me some kids that are capable of playing in this league? And those guys do. You got buddies out there that are just they pop into a game, see a game here, see a game there. Guess what? They're sending players. They're sending players to us all the time. So we've improved. Again, I think there's more character on this team than there has been. And so I think we had characters. Now we have character. There you go. There's the English language playing games on us. But nonetheless, you get everything here, folks. You get an English lesson and a little bit about hockey too. But anyhow, yeah, we've got a better squad from the emotional, mental standpoint, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and for this group, of course, Cole Landerville was out of the lineup notably. Any update on what that was?
No, I don't know that. I think he had a small injury. They're just not talking about it at the moment. I'm not sure how long this is going to last, but I believe it's an injury. But I haven't got anything specific to tell you today. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. But nice to see that even without him, this team was able to go into that final game of the weekend against Prairie, tied at one apiece. Prairie, just the team that was able to have a bit more stamina, a bit more juice compared to Pilot Mountain this past weekend in their two matchups against them. But Like the U15s, what does this say to be able to see this group, like you said, a group with a lot of character, be able to compete against a big name program once again, this time in Prairie?
Well, this is all about team. I mean, and Pilot Mountain kind of personifies that every year, whether or not we actually get to that level of, team, total team effort and total team togetherness. Um, it's all about team. It's all about everybody pulling in the same direction, and everybody, nobody pouting, nobody, they missed a shift. They're not going to complain to everybody in town and throw up the white flag because they're being treated poorly. Everybody's together. Everybody's getting a chance. They're all trying hard, and they're all and they're getting better at it. And they challenge it. And team comes from not only playing in games, and you can see the team stuff, but in practice, getting on one another if you're not doing well in practice, or supporting the guy if he's not doing well in practice. I know some days the goalies don't stop anything in practice, and you feel bad for them, but the kids will go over and talk to them and say, "Don't worry, it's just practice. We know you're good in the games. We trust you in the games. That's all that matters." That makes a kid feel good. A guy's not playing very well. He's missing passes. He might be sick a little bit. Yeah,
Right.
who knows? All those things are important. That team togetherness is really important. And that's what we hope all of our kids get. Certainly that's what's happening at U15, U18s for sure.
Well, yeah, and especially with the certain advantages the bigger schools have, the culture in Pilot Mound, it has to be at that top-notch level, right? And it seems like it's always great camaraderie between all the teams, and it gets stronger as the season goes along, which is going to be exciting to see for this team as they'll be back in action coming up. Actually, tonight, once this podcast airs by noon,
Yep.
or starting at noon, but they play at 7 p.m. at Blackjack Stewart Arena against RHA Winnipeg. RHA Winnipeg this season, they only have one win, Gordie. They're going to be, of course, really motivated. I feel like that being a rival for them and being able to, yeah, have a chance to upset Pilot Mound on paper, who's 5-5 heading into this one. Talk about this upcoming match against RHA, a team that this team can't take lightly, and I'm sure won't.
No, of course not. I mean, early in the season, RHA is a good program. They're probably shocked at RHA that they've only got the one win. Now, keeping in mind that that team was probably stripped of a lot of good hockey players moving up into junior hockey a year earlier than maybe normal because of the changes to the college thing and the NCAA and Western Hockey League and all that stuff's going on. It domino effects down. And I think maybe RHA got caught this year in that one. They were better last year, a lot better last year. And so I think they're feeling the effects of having really good players and then losing those really good players up to the next level, which is what you're planning on doing anyway. But they lost them a year early, and so they're struggling a little bit, but you can't take anybody lightly. You got to play every game as hard as you can, not only to win the game, but again to show those scouts, your parents, their coaches, your coaches that hey. And you don't want to show anybody that you're backing down to them because they come out harder or stronger, whatnot. It's a man's game, and you got to play up like a man, I guess, a little bit. So here you go for it, people, and that's no difference to the girls. The girls are the same. They battle like crazy too. So I don't want to get my foot in my mouth on that one, but yep, it's a tough battle out there, and no one takes anybody lightly. I'm sure Anthony will not allow that.
Yeah, and for Pilot Mound, looking to take advantage on the power play, they're hoping this one is RHA, a huge theme for them. A lot of penalty minutes, 300 to be exact so far in 11 games. Pilot
Frustration.
Mound's U18s in CSSHL play have 138 penalty minutes, and a little correction here. They're not 5-5, they're 5-1. Looking to improve that. Coming up tonight against RHA, then they're going to have a bit of time off, Gordie, 8 days off of game time until their next one on the 21st. The U17s, of course, had the weekend off. We'll get to them very shortly here, Gordie. But the U18 females, they were in action against Northern Alberta Extreme down at Blackjack Stewart Arena in a home and home, or I guess two back-to-back home games for Pilot Mound. How'd it turn out against this next group?
Well, Nax has, I just was working on my article for the Hometown View newspaper in Pilot Mound and that community out that way. And the Nax female team has become the defensive juggernaut of the world. My gosh, no one can, our guys can't score on them, and I know others have had difficulty scoring on them. They don't give up many shots. They don't give up hardly any good opportunities. And so they've put together, they have figured this out. When you don't have the goal scorers, you stack your team with, 20 Bob Gainies. And so for those people who are Montreal Canadiens fans, the Defensive Player of the Year award guy, in the NHL. So at the end of the day, they've really turned on the defensive prowess. And so our guys are having trouble scoring. 6-0 loss in the first game. The last time they played them was 4-0, and this we lost 6-0 and 2-0. So we're trying to show them up on the defensive side, but we better get a goal sooner or later. So they're going to cancel us playing these guys. We're not going to like playing them anymore because they don't give us a goal. So but anyway, they're a really good defensive team, and we're not a very good offensive team. So that just double whammy. It's really hard on our defensive game and our goalies and our defensemen and our defensive play to be up to standard. That's a tough team to play over there.
Yeah, and for huge voice crack there, Gordy. It's kind of funny how that happened, but yeah, this group actually came in off of a 7-2 loss from their last game, so they end up bouncing back against this U18 female group in Pilot Mound quite nicely. But as for this female group in Pilot Mound, um, they're going to be going into action coming up next this weekend against teams like RHA, OHA Edmonton, Balmoral Hall. So from this past weekend, as you talked about, just the defensive excellence from Northern Alberta Extreme, were there any positives to define in that? Was Pilot Mound able to find some answers to at least break through a bit past next this past weekend on some opportunities?
Yeah, sure. We had some goal scoring chances. And, we can create some by doing what everybody else does, trying to forecheck the heck out of the other team. And they've got, third and fourth lines like everybody else has. So they're not always their best players out there. And so we do put some pressure on. Unfortunately, we just, you don't have those natural goal scorers. You just kind of throw the puck towards the net and somehow it bounces off 14 players and bingo, it's in the goal. We don't have that. We just, and so our kids have to work for every friggin' break and every play they get. And we don't get as many because this team's good defensively for the most part, this next team. And so it's a double whammy. You don't get many chances, and then you don't get the breaks when you get a chance. And I'm not even talking about breaks. It's just having those natural goal scorers. And goalies, when goalies don't like natural goal scorers because you can have the whole net covered with what except for the size of a puck, and the guy will find it. I mean, how does that happen? But it happens. And so those are the natural goal scorer guys. We just don't have those people on our team. The kids try like heck, and they do create some chances, but not enough to get some better breaks, I guess.
Well, for this group, they'll be back in action coming up this Friday against RHA Winnipeg. All their games this weekend coming up, Gordie, will be at Blackjack Stewart Arena, so they remain at home, and then they'll be hitting the road on the 21st going to
Oh,
Alberta in the
yeah.
Ed school. As for the U17 male prep Buffaloes, Gordy, they were the only team that had a weekend off. Hasn't seemed like there's been many of those, even though for the U18 male preps after their game this Wednesday, they'll have about 8 days off until they're back in action again. But as for the U17s, they'll be busy this weekend, three straight games for them in Abbotsford, British Columbia.
Yes, sir. And that's a big weekend. It's a big travel weekend. It's a 2-day trip, getting there and getting back. So they don't get back until Monday. evening, late usually. So, and school's the next day. Of course, they've got school every day, even though they're on the road. They've got stuff to do. They got assignments. They've got study hall for those parents that, wonder about these kids travel so much. Yeah, they get their travel miles points, I guess. I don't know if Air Canada gives them points. There's no Greyhound bus anymore, so you can't get points from those guys. But they're on the road and they'll be playing in BC, and that's a preview for the spring when they go back out there for the playoffs. So a lot of the kids who haven't been on that trip get into the mountains a little bit, and it's a lot of fun. You blah blah blah. So it's experience for some of these kids who have never been into the mountains at all and have never seen these things. My gosh, here you go. So. And if you're scared of heights, walk. I guess I don't know. It's high up. Anyway, so yeah, they'll be having lots of fun on this trip. It'll be a good experience for them.
Well, not only going to be a great experience for the views and getting to feel like you said for the facilities they'll be playing in come playoff time, but they're going up against two teams that are within the top five, right?
Yeah,
Star Academy as well as Pacific Coast Hockey Academy, Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy. They're a bit higher up in the standings this season, and they're always a team that seems to match up well with Pilot Mountain, no matter at what age group, what level. Talk about that, just having even more to play for and going out to try to prove yourself against literally the best team in that division right now in Star Academy.
yeah, and Star's a surprise team this year, so this was not expected, but there they are. It's like the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays weren't expected to go to the World Series. There they were. So it's team, it's effort, and so you're able to, as a coach, to be able to explain that and show them this is a team that wasn't there last year. Now they're there. How did this happen? Well, they recruited some guys. They got some better chemistry maybe, and bingo. And these kids are all trying really hard. So good on Star Hockey. Yeah, we're going to play three tough games. Good. Tough games are good for them. It's nice to win some. Tough games are good because then you win some of those and you feel good about it. You feel better than skunking somebody for whatever that purpose is, or being skunked. It doesn't make anybody any better. And you learn to live with those kinds of things. So good on our guys to go out there and get a real good taste of this hockey. This is what makes the CSSHL a real top-notch league. Your travel, you get used to that. You're learning to becoming sort of an adult now. You're on your own a little bit. You're having to be mature. We had a sort of a coaches team meeting last night, and our owner, Thomas Collins, made a comment about our players in the dorms, in the restaurants, in the hotels that we've traveled to. He is extremely proud of how our players conduct themselves at home and on the road. He said this is the best year in a long time that this has happened. He's really, really proud of the effort the kids make, and of course the way the coaches and our parents, our dorm parents, and all those other people help these kids out. So, yep, it's a really good thing this weekend that they're going to be out there and they'll have some fun too.
Great to hear that,
Yeah.
the behind the scenes are great right now in Pilot Mound, and it always seems to be like that, but it seems like it's been talked about more than ever, especially during this season of the Buffaloes podcast. And for Pilot Mound, it's another chance to prove how legit this team may be this season, looking to take that next step from a Division 2 championship last year, trying to get into Division 1, and they're off to a pretty good start this year through 7 games. 5-2, ranking eighth. They go up against the fifth ranked Pacific Coast Hockey Academy squad, the number one ranked Star Hockey Academy team, as well as the number 16th ranked Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy U17 prep squads, all this weekend as Pilot Mountain hits the road to BC. Gordie, of course, as we're recording this podcast, it'll be a day afterwards, but it is Remembrance Day today. Anything Pilot Mound is doing on this day, or anything you want to say regarding that on behalf of Pilot Mound?
Well, obviously Remembrance Day is huge. They have a beautiful memorial space in Pilot Mountain for that. And a lot of the towns do. They lost some people in the wars from their own towns, and young men went off to war, young women went off to war, and didn't come home or got hurt, badly. And so, the tremendous respect for the people in the war. My dad was in the war, so my grandpa, blah blah blah. So it's a proud time to be Canadian, to know that we looked after things back then, and we hope that people recognize that in this country today, during some turmoil in our own country and in North America, that those folks went out and they went out and won for democracy very clearly and put down the bad guys from the other part of the world that didn't treat democracy very well. So happy Remembrance Day. And just so you know, I'm wearing my brand new Thrashers hat. This is the Thrashers organization in North Winnipeg, sort of the East Kildonan, St. James, North Winnipeg. And I want to tell you, I've picked up my fifth U13 goalie player to help coach. Now, I do coach on one of the teams, regularly, but I've got three more other kids that have said, "Hey, you got some goalie life teaching in you." So Pilot Mountain has kind of shuffled me off to the side, and I thank them for doing that. So I'm over here coaching on the Thrashers and a couple of other. They got four teams in the U13, so I'm coaching a bunch of kids in that program, hoping to move them up to the next level, just like everybody else is. So I'm plugging the Thrashers program today. We've got to play the Wild and the Bruins.
Oh, there you go. And this guy, I've also seen him on the bench for Garden City this year. Were you on the bench, Gordie, or just in the stands? You're actually on the bench this year, right?
I was on the bench once. No, I've only been on the bench once, and that was last week with the Thrashers and an 8-2 victory. I was on the bench once last year. We won that one for the Thrasher team last year. So I'm 2-0, and I'm going to start seeking out a bigger contract for me because I'm really obviously I'm pretty good at it. So there you go. And the head coach is worrying about his job. Not.
There you go. There you go. I love that, Gordie, and always love talking to you. By the way, I've been wearing a poppy today. It's
Yeah, I did.
finally made its way into the frame. Wanted to adjust it, but thought maybe it will look a bit silly with it being so high up on my shirt in this episode. But yeah, a day to, of course, remember and reflect today on the sacrifices made for this country, those that have served, lest we forget. And thank you to those that have served. And thank you to you, Gordie Tumilson, of course, for coming on every week and doing this show. We'll talk again next week about the results for Pilot Mound, and of course, we'll even throw some marketing like we usually do into there. Just not enough time this week to do that,
Big
or maybe
announcement
use a
next
fun
week.
word.
A big announcement next week.
Big announcement for sure next week. Can't wait to unveil that. Until then, Gordie, we'll see you then.
Thanks, Graham. Have a good day.
Gordie Tumilson joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. And if you're wondering why I'm not wearing a poppy today, it's because I heard actually from Gordie that out of respect for veterans, those that have served, it's only appropriate to wear them up until the 11th. So yeah, that's why it's not on my shirt today, my attire, but yeah, great to be able to chat with Gordie Tumilson as always. Of course, that interview brought to you by all of the wonderful sponsors and the partners of Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, and of course Movement Fitness and Performance, Goaltenders, Carico, Elite Prospects, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy kind of rejuvenating their skill development program this year, adding to it, and they got a new skill development manager, and his name is Dane Halstead, and Dane actually ended up being on the first ever team in Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy history back in 2015-16. He donned, or not 60, 16, 2015-16. Dane donned the C for Pilot Mound. He had a chance to play in the USHL, and he also had a chance to play in Carmen, Manitoba to end off his playing career. He started to get into coaching after he ended up going through shoulder surgery and ended up starting out with RHA. He ended up coaching at the U15 age group at a pretty high level, and he's made his way back to Pilot Mound Hockey Academy at this point. So, without further ado, Dane Halstead is going to be joining the show next year on the Buffaloes podcast after uh, this commercial. Yeah, we'll throw it to commercial first off because this interview, it was quite a lengthy one, but a good one with Dane. Stick around. Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Dane Halstead, skill development manager at Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. He is a former Buffalo as well, playing on one of the earliest Buffaloes team back in about 2015-16. Had the chance to don the sea with Pilot Mound as well as the Bellingham Blazers later on. Dane, let us in on a bit of your journey about yourself playing in the hockey world back in Pilot Mound in 2015-16 and so on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Graham. Yeah, so I started with Pilot Mountain 2015, 2016. That was their first year starting up. Rod Collins reached out to me one day in the summer and just kind of told me about the academy and seemed like an exciting and interesting opportunity. So I took it. I ended up moving out there. They didn't have the dorms at the time, so we just ended up billeting. So I started the year with Doug and Ginger Collins. Great family. Took great care of me. Really appreciate everything that they did. And the biggest thing for me was the sense of community that Pilot Mountain kind of brought to the academy. I'm from a small town as well, so I take a great value in that sense of feeling and everybody coming together to build something really special. After I heard the story of how the arena was built, that kind of gave me the first notion. And then just as the year progressed, you kind of see it all around how everybody's just willing to help out, help each other no matter the cost. So it was a really good experience. And then after that, I ended up going and playing for Rod's son, actually, Mark Collins, in the Western States Hockey League. I played there for 2 years. Second year, I was the captain. Had some shoulder injuries through the season, and I ended up having to get shoulder surgery. So that was kind of the end of that. So I ended up moving back to Winnipeg at 20 years old. Working different jobs, doing concrete, working on farms, ranches, things like that. And COVID kind of hit. I had my surgery kind of through COVID. And then when obviously I kind of came out of that, started with the rink. So I started there as just an assistant coach on ice with the development program. Quickly worked my way up to head coach to a coordinator position. And then I got the manager position in the springtime. Pilot Mountain reached out to me again, kind of coming with this idea of developing their own program or development program. So obviously really interested, loved being here and the experience that I had. So it was kind of calling me back. And yeah, that's kind of where we are now. And it's been a long journey to here, but I'm really excited.
And of course, going back to a place like you said, you basically fell in love with it, the community aspect of it, the way that Blackjack Stewart was built, and great that you had a chance to build it with two of the main pieces that ended up starting this thing up in the Collins, Rod and Ginger. But take me through, what that was like making that jump to the CSSHL and being a part of history in a way, the first team ever in Pilot Mountain, going more into depth into that.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously being the first year, there was a lot of new things. They were still building the program. We didn't get our dressing room until probably 2 or 3 months in. Um, but everybody just kind of made a group effort to make it work. Um, you know, the community being as small as it is, to be able to billet that many kids is pretty good on their part, in people taking kids in and willing to do that, because it's not very easy. Um, being a billet. But Rod and Rick put together a great team. A lot of great guys that I'm still friends with to this day, from 10 years ago. And the it was tough making that jump, definitely, because I was playing high school the previous year, um, and having to make that jump against top level prep teams in Canada was definitely a big jump. But I don't think if I had made it, I would have been able to move on to juniors and have the career that I did, which eventually led into what I'm doing now. If I hadn't played juniors, I probably wouldn't be a skill development coach and have the skill set to be able to do that. So I truly believe that coming to Pilot Mountain kind of planted the seed for what was going to be my future, and that's kind of a big piece of why I came back, was that they had a big part in my development and growth, not only as a hockey player but as a person.
And of course, that U17 program that you started with, they've grown into quite a squad throughout the past year for sure, being able to win a Division II championship. They were able to build up to win their first ever championship back in 2019, 2020. As a player that was there at the start of it all, like you said, that the dressing rooms didn't even come in until about 2, 3 months in. But coming back to Pilot Mountain, being in the position you're in now and being able to see where this U17 program has grown to, I'm sure there's a lot of pride in that, knowing that you were there for the start of it all.
For sure. Yeah, like everything from the new dorms to the amount of dressing rooms that they have, to just looking at what the game day looks like. It's been a big jump and a step in the right direction for them. And I mean, they've had 10 years to do it. It's a process, and takes time. But seeing now what they've been able to achieve, when we were in the I don't even think we were actually in the league. We just had exhibition games against these prep teams. So it was hard not really being able to compete for that championship or anything. But it's really cool to see that they've been able to grow and have teams have success at that level.
Quite a bit of change since then, like you said, not even
Yeah.
playing league games back then, and now Pilot Mound, their U17's off to another great start this season. But in terms of just the playing experience for yourself, of course, ending off on a low note in terms of your junior career with the shoulder injury, but coming out of that, going through the surgery and being able to come back to Manitoba, playing for the Carmen squad, the Carmen Beavers, and the SEMHL for about 4 years, and being able to be a skill development coach. Talk about your journey, I guess, to recovery more so, and being able to fall in love with the sport again another time as a skill development coach this time around.
Yeah. So, when I had come back and had my surgery, I wasn't really sure what I was doing. I kind of went back to school and was going through that process. Like I said, kind of working odd jobs here and there. And I knew I'd wanted to be a coach. Having great coaches like Rod, Rick, Mark, previous coaches from earlier years really set the foundation for wanting to be a coach, knowing the impact that they had on me and that the impact that they had on my personal growth was something that I really wanted to give back to. Having an impact in kids' lives, setting the right examples and moving them in the right direction was really important to me. But not really seeing a serious, career within coaching immediately. Obviously, being 20, 19, 20 at the time when I had my surgery, pretty hard to get a coaching position when you don't have much experience. So with the rink, that was kind of what they gave me was being able to start there fresh. I had done some coaching with minor hockey, just assistant here and there, but growing my skill set as a coach with them, being able to have that pathway to an actual career. And then coaching on the side, like I was the head coach of the Wild last year, the U15 AA Wild. That was a great experience. And just kind of having that really helped me and give me direction with, coming back and going through the surgery, not really sure, really helped direct me. And then obviously with the opportunity with the rink, that was kind of saw a career path. So I kind of went for it and haven't really looked back and I really enjoyed it. So that's kind of, what helped me. Obviously, COVID was tough. And I think having the surgery at COVID time was a little bit easier for me because I was already kind of on my couch, not doing much. But yeah, it was not always an easy, but definitely really appreciate the opportunities that everyone gave me.
Yeah, and like you said, coaching for the Wild last season and being able to start off with the Rink Hockey Academy, great to hear about the impact that your previous coaches, the ones specifically in Pilot Mountain, on the impact they had on you. But throughout your, I guess, short time of coaching, throughout these past few years, how would you say you've developed into the coach you are now in the skill development side?
Yeah, so I think, being on the skill development side and being on the team coaching side has let me kind of put the two together. I think a lot of coaches are, either on the skill development side or either on the team coaching side, and then they kind of rely on the other person to help them with the pieces that they're missing. So having kind of both backgrounds, I think really helps me work with the kids in a multitude of ways, more than just being the coach. I can actually help with problems that they're having more so than just systems, right? I can break down, what's going on with your shot. What are you doing wrong in the ozone to not create enough time and space for yourself? What kind of plays are you making under pressure and what skill set can we give you to help with that, right? So going a little bit more beyond just, well, you need to get your eyes up, right? Well, what are we going to do to actually get that to happen? How are we going to build that confidence and a skill set that can give you the ability to do that? I think is a great attribute that I can come with is kind of having both sides to that and giving a little bit more of an array of help for the kids.
And of course, I think that's huge, like you said, to have both backgrounds and to, I guess, be kind of like that Swiss Army knife within the program, right? Having so
Yeah.
much experience to bring to the table. And of course, with Pilot Mountain building the skill development program up, giving it, this kind type of restart in a way because they've done skill development work in the past. But how do you feel that your skill set, I guess, is going to complement this program specifically moving forward? And can you also let the viewers in a bit more on what exactly is going to be worked on in this development program?
Yeah, so I think it's just building off what they previously have. I don't know if they've had someone, entirely focused on building a skill development program. Like I kind of said previously, everybody just kind of helps out. So I think it was kind of a group effort on trying to build a program where they could provide development to the local area and the minor hockey associations. So I think just me coming in and being able to have that as a single focus, providing a little bit maybe more depth to the programs, a little bit more options, variety of things that parents can choose from. That's kind of my goal is just building off what they've already done, not really trying to change anything within what they already do. It's a great program and academy that I'm just looking to build off of and expand. Hopefully our goal is also with working with minor hockey associations around the local areas, going out and, providing camps around Canada as well. Obviously, we want to have more reach than just the local area. And that was kind of what my job with the rink was mainly to reach out to communities around Canada and run camps for the associations for parents who are looking for more development within their areas. So that's also what I'll be looking to expand on. I was doing trips up in Nunavut, Fort Nelson, Fort St. John, places northern BC. So really trying to have more reach than just our local area, but obviously putting, our local area first and trying to develop and provide good programs for parents that they can be proud of putting their kids in and be happy with.
And I think that's huge, being able to get this team's name out on the road even more so. I know they've started doing more of that since Nicole is taken over, but great to hear that things are starting to ramp up more on that side of things for the academy and the marketing side. And of course, the skill development program will be ran every Monday from what I've read and seen about the information that's been released. But going back into just the both sides you have, right, of being a hockey coach as well as a skill development coach, having that background. In terms of the overall program, guess dive more into how you feel like your assets are going to be extremely valuable for this program in terms of not just getting the most out of their skill, but getting the most out of these players.
Yeah. So, I haven't really integrated with the players at this point very much. Their coaches do a great job of providing skill development for them. As of right now, my focus is more just with the kids in the area. The minor hockey association's running camps for them. I'd love for opportunities to work with the kids in the Pilot Mountain Academy, and I'm sure I will. What I feel like I bring is a wealth of knowledge to develop and build programs. That's exactly what I did at the rink was, design and build programs, camps for kids for opportune times, right? You're looking at spring, you're looking at spring programming. So within that, you're looking at spring hockey, where are the gaps, where are kids looking for more development? And with what I see in spring hockey right now, development has taken a little bit of a back seat, which is obviously my focus. So I definitely want to bring that back into what the purpose and point of spring hockey was to kind of fill that gap with development to get them ready for the next season. Especially for kids who are making, first time contact. I've coached spring hockey for the last 4 years, and I've always coached the age group that kids are first getting into hitting. The major age U13s who are now allowed to hit in spring, but they haven't even hit all year. And you look at then the next season where they're getting into U15, you do see a lot of disparity of kids that have been in that spring program and kids that haven't and have maybe done some body contact clinics versus kids who haven't. And not only the difference in gameplay, but the injuries that happen within that of kids who are taught properly to do it versus not taught. And I think that again was the main focus when spring hockey was kind of developed. And that's what I definitely want to have the focus for. But, that just being said, more of trying to target the areas where people in this area and elsewhere are really looking to fill those gaps. And I think that my knowledge from being with the rink is going to help, build proper programs where people, like I said, can be proud of putting their kids in and happy with at the end of the day. My focus is to put quality first, right? I'm not trying to launch 1,000,001 programs, 1,000,001 camps. I'm trying to launch a couple of things that people can go into, can be happy about, can come out of saying that their kid developed and got better. And that's kind of my focus.
And I think that's a great point you bring up about the hitting, and it's a huge part of the game. Once it does get introduced, it happens pretty much very frequently. I wouldn't say all the time on ice, but it's a very frequent occurrence. And the more we can protect, the kids going into hitting that first, you're teaching them the right technique, teaching them how to take hits the right way, how to scan. I think the better development overall should be heading forward for these kids. And I love how you're emphasizing that and making a point to, bring that up on this podcast to the viewers. Let our viewers in, though, on what's going to be the, I guess, skill development plan in this program heading forward in the next few months leading into the spring. What people can be expecting if they were to put their kid in these skill development programs.
Yeah, so we've got Buffalo One program, which is kind of like a breakfast club type idea. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the mornings. It's just one on ice. the focus is going to be mainly power skating at the start, and then shooting, stick handling skills in the second half. Generally, that's what I find with previously most kids want to work with. At the start of the year, it's a lot of that foundational work, fundamentals, trying to get all that skating down, get in the groove of things. Maybe they haven't been on the ice in a while, so getting them geared up and then keeping them at tip-top shape. And then we've also got, moving more into the spring, the actual spring development program, which is kind of that gap filler for kids who are between spring seasons, extended season, the regular season. So, doing 1 to 2 skates a week for the older kids, 1 skate for the younger kids, and then a workout as well for the older group, just keeping them in shape. A lot of parents see a little bit of a drop off once they end their season into getting into their spring program or spring season. And also providing that development because, kids from this area may be playing spring here. They may be playing spring in Winkler. They may be playing spring in Winnipeg. They're playing on a lot of different teams. And like I said, not every spring organization is entirely focused on development. And if your spring association isn't, then this spring program would be great for you because it kind of fills the gap of it's just practices. It's not a team. We're just looking to focus on development. And if you're kind of missing that within your spring hockey, then it's a great program for you to enter in. We've got things like the Christmas break camp. So we're looking to do a 4-on-4 camp as well as a 4-on-4 tournament, as well as a 3-day half-day camp. Kids are looking to do things on the break. I don't want to take up their entire day, but something to do for the morning is always nice, and you can go enjoy the rest of your day doing something else, and then have a little bit of a competitive tournament is always nice. Going into the new year, just with having some fun is the focus there. And then we've also looking at doing a spring break camp. Obviously, same idea. Kids are off, looking to do something. So just trying to provide something fun, providing options that are, intensive and development focused, and also options that are a little bit more fun based with that development as well.
Well, I love where the heads are at down in Pilot Mountain. Sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, if I was of that age group, I'd be all over that if I was within the area. So all the information, everybody, can be found at pilotmountainhockeyacademy.com. They also post plenty of information on their Instagram as well as on their other social media platforms, all their social media platforms. And the manager of the skill development program in Dane, Halstead, it was great having a chance to get to know you and getting to know what you're going to be bringing to the table here at Pilot Mound. Looking forward to seeing what progressions are made with the skill development program with you as the head moving forward.
Thank you very much, Graham.
And Dane Halstead joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast, the skills development manager over at Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, as they got various different programs and camps that are going to be running this season. For more details, of course, as mentioned, visit pilotmountainhockeyacademy.com. They also release this information on their social media pages, like on their Instagram at PM Buffaloes. And yeah, it's going to be really cool to see where Dane takes this coming in. He said he doesn't want to change too much, but he wants to, of course, implement what he feels are going to be essential to, of course, players' skill development. And I love how he brought up body checking and just really teaching the kids how to hit properly heading into their first year of hitting, because it's a dangerous sport if you don't know how to hit properly and hitting is introduced and you don't know how to take hits. So love that is going to be an emphasis. Also love that Pilot Mountain was able to take this picture yesterday during Remembrance Day. Many of the students, I believe, with poppies on, and yeah, great to know that everyone was together and on a day where it's a day dedicated to remember and, salute those who gave their lives for this country, those survivors, and those still serving in the Army and the military today, and those that have given the freedom for us to live in this beautiful country of Canada. And yeah, great to see that Pilot Mountain was able to post something. On Remembrance Day, they also posted a graphic to do with Remembrance Day too, with their logo on it, which was great to see from the social media team. As for the upcoming games this week and weekend, as for the U15s, they get started tomorrow, as they'll be in action against the Martinsville Marauders. Then they take on the Notre Dame Hounds, followed up by the Fort Sask Rangers, and then on Saturday they'll be taking on the SE Tigers, Saturday and Sunday. Afterwards, it's going to be to be determined, since they are playing in a tournament. It really depends on how they do throughout those first 4 games. Live Barn, if you have a subscription there, you can tune in if you're unable to make it down to Medicine Hat. As for the male U17 Prep Buffaloes, they'll be back in action facing off against Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy, Pacific Coast Hockey Academy, and Star Hockey Academy. Huge weekend for the U17s, another weekend to prove themselves as one of the best teams in this year's division, going up against the number 1 ranked Star Hockey Academy squad, and then a top 5 team in Pacific Coast Hockey Academy. It's going to be a really good litmus test for this team coming up this weekend, and of course Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy is always a team that seems to give any team they face from Pilot Mountain a battle. So even though they're a bit lower in the standings, Pilot Mountain, they got their work cut out for them this weekend for the U17s, as they'll be in Abbotsford, BC. All those games can be seen on Flow Sports. As for the male U18 Prep Buffaloes, they have one game this week, and that's coming up actually tonight, 7 p.m. at Blackjack Stewart Arena against RHA Winnipeg. Coverage is going to be seen on Flow Sports, as this Buffaloes side looks to take down, well, the Academy's biggest and most historic rival in RHA Winnipeg. As for the U18 female Prep Buffaloes, they'll be at home in Blackjack Stewart Arena for 3 games. All of these games can be seen on Flow Sports, I guess Live Barn as well. I'm not sure if Pilot Mountain's gotten that. That's news to me, but yeah, RHA Winnipeg, OHA Edmonton, and Balmoral Hall. It doesn't get easier, does it, for this Buffalo squad? But hey, they were able to score a few goals in their past weekend of action, and this is a team that, of course, has been longing for more offense, probably trying to get the defensive details sorted out too, of course. But yeah, just looking for more positives, and hopefully they can find at least some against 3 tough opponents. Coming up this weekend at home, that could be an advantage for them on home ice, playing in front of the home crowd. But yeah, all these schedules brought to you by Canacom Group Travel, one of Pilot Mountain's lovely sponsors. But speaking of U18 defensemen, Sadie Swanton competed with Team Manitoba at this year's U18 Women's Nationals at Newfoundland and Labrador, and for Team Manitoba, they ended up losing to the eventual finalists in Team Atlantic in the quarterfinals, so that put them in the 5th place matchup against British Columbia on Friday afternoon, and Team Manitoba, as you can see, they're able to come away with a 2-1 victory. It was Winnipeg Ice forward Cassie Carvalho who put the team on her back in that matchup and ended up scoring her first 2 goals of the tournament. Timely ones that couldn't have come at a better time for Cassie. But as for Sadie, me and Gordie talked about her last week, and you know, the word was that she was looking steady, and that's what Sadie Swanton's game brings, a steady, calm presence, I think, there on the back end for a team that's had a lot of chaos this year in Pilot Mountain. And for them to get her back this upcoming weekend is huge, and hopefully she's able to take her experience from the U18 Women's Nationals from the past week and bring it back to Pilot Mountain to help hopefully kickstart this team at some point this season. Just waiting for the moment where it can come together for this U18 female program. But As for us at G Show Productions, we're going to send it to the promo screen, I guess, and then I'll be back here for some final words on this edition of the show. Well, you've made it to the end of the Buffaloes podcast. I've been your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth. This has been episode 10 in season 3. Special thanks to everyone that tuned into this one. If you're new here and you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't only support us on the show, but you get to know when the latest episodes come out, right? If you get the notifications. If you want to as well, consider leaving a like so more people can start to see content like this on YouTube in general and the algorithm. All things help out, and yeah, I don't know, share with a friend or someone that you know may be interested in this. It could be a family member too, but yeah, if you don't do that and you're just here to support, appreciate you all the same. Thank you to Gordie Tumilson and Dane Halstead for coming on this edition of the show. I appreciate them. Gordie Tumilson as always, and it was great getting to talk to Dane and getting to meet him for the first time, even though it was virtually. And of course, a special thanks to our sponsors in Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terrico, Movement Fitness and Performance, Goaltenders, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia for sponsoring another edition of the Buffaloes podcast. Until next week, everybody, on another Wednesday, we'll see you then for episode 11 in season 3. This has been episode 10 in season 3, as already mentioned. We'll leave it off with the March of the Buffaloes anthem as we start off after the cold open in this week's episode. Not sure if I'll do that again next week, but all I do know is next week's episode should be pretty exciting, so hope you all tune in for that one around the same time. We'll see you then, about 7 days from now, Buffaloes Nation.